Okay, so yeah. Uh, okay, so hello everyone. I'm Soutaro. So I live in Japan, Tokyo. So it is in fact 8 a.m. now. So it's pretty early, but yeah, it's fine. Today, I want to talk about the static typing in RBS 3. Yeah. Oops. Yep. Okay, so I want to introduce myself. I'm Soutaro. I'm one of the Ruby core committers. That's since 2019. So I'm working for the static type checking for Ruby. So I started the development of Steep. It is a static type checker for Ruby. It was 2016 or 17. And yeah, after several years of the development, I also studied the project of RBS. It is to integrate the static type checking into Ruby itself. So finally, the RBS is bundled in the Ruby 3 distribution. So I'm currently working for Square. Development of RBS and Steep is some part of my work in Square. So I developed the type checkers, and we test with some projects in the company. Okay, so I want to note that my GitHub and Twitter account is Soutaro. So please visit me on Twitter or that. Okay, so this is talk about Ruby 3.0. It was released December 25th last year, the Christmas. It includes a lot of improvements like pattern matching or interest method definition or like that. But I want to focus on the three of the key updates. Performance improvement with MG or the new concurrency models by Lacter and Fiber Student. And the last one is static typing with RBS and TypeProf. And the last one is the topic of this talk. So this is an abstract of static typing in Ruby 3. So Ruby 3 ships with RBS. RBS is a gem and the type definition of standard libraries. The core library, classes, modules, and some of the standard libraries like the set or pathname or that libraries. The most important thing I want to say is that RBS is not a type checker itself. RBS is a name of a language to write the type signatures, type definitions of Ruby programs, or the files written in the language, or RBS is a library. It provides some parsing and loading the RBS files and do some processing about types. RBS is not a type checker, so the type checker, to type check your Ruby project, you choose some tools and install into your projects. So there are some RBS-based tools, RBS-based type checkers or some tools available, and you can choose the best tools and you install on your project. This is a small example of RBS file. So that this is to define a conference class. It has some attributes name and talks. The type of name is string. The type of talk is array, and the elements of the array is talk class. It has initialize method. It has each speaker method. So we can write the type of methods or type of the attributes using this language. Before continuing to explain how RBS works, I want to define what is static type checking. This is small Ruby code. It's only 6 lines. It uses some methods and classes. So you may have some questions like this. So what is the argument of the new method call? Is it okay to pass a string? It may be a symbol, or you may need to pass some keyword arguments. You may need to pass the name of the conference and the another integer for the name of year. What is the talks method? So what is the types of the talks method? In fact, it's an array, but it may be a set, or it may be a hash, or some other custom class may be used here. What is the type of the speaker variable? So it is a block given to each speaker. So we guess that it should be a speaker. But we don't know the implementation of the each speaker method. So it's not clear that if we can assume the speaker is the type of the speaker variable will be. So using RBS, we can find the answers to that questions. We can find the type of new method from the type of initialize method. So we are sure now that it accepts a string argument. We know the type of talks attribute. So we know that that will be an array. And the element of the array is talks instance. So we can see the type of each speaker method. We know that the method can receive a block, and the block will yield a speaker instance. So I mean that we have some questions on the Ruby code, and we want to find the answers without executing code. And for that questions, the RBS file can tell you some answers. I want to introduce some of the features of RBS. So it allows writing some generic classes. It is something for collections like array or hash. The first line is array of integer. We did the array of integer. It means that it is an instance of array class, and the elements included in the array is instance of integer. The second one, hash. The example of a hash is that we call that hash of string and array of integer. It has 2 type parameters, and the first one is type of keys, and the second one is the type of values. So the key of the hash is string, and the value of the hash is array of integer. Another one I want to explain is union types. I think that some of you may know that TypeScript, it has union types. So union types is a very important type for untyped languages. So because that we sometimes have variables, it can be a string or a symbol. So without union types, we need to use something like object for the type of the object, for type of the variable, but we can use union types. So it can be string or symbol. It can be instance of string or instance of symbol. We can pass an union type to generic parameters. So array of string or integer is an array. The type of the type of the elements of array is string or integer. We have a special union type of the integer question. We call it optional type. It's a shorthand of integer or new. So we can represent a type that the value of the expression can be new. Then we need to take care of new. So we need to check if the value of the expression is new or not before using method. Or we know that the type is integer, so it cannot be new. Then we can skip using the safe navigation operator, or we can skip the new checks or like that. Another one I want to explain is interface types. So this is for duck typing. I explained the type of array or integer, and I say that it is an type to represent an instance of array class or an instance of integer class. But the interface types is different. There is no class. It doesn't explain that. It doesn't say that this is a class of some class. This is an instance of some class, but it just says that the type has some methods. It means that the integer convertible interface is there is toInt method, and it returns an instance of integer, but it doesn't say anything about how the exact class of the type is. So this is a really similar semantics on the duck typing. So we can use some, we can define some interface types for duck typing, and we can pass the arbitrary any instance of any classes to that to give the interface types. The last one I want to introduce is untyped type. It is something like the escape hatch for giving types. For example, Ruby has eval method. It evaluates a given string as Ruby, and it may return any objects. So we cannot give a type to the return value of eval. In that case, we can use the untyped type. So it can be any type. The type checkers won't check anything about the untyped.
Oh, Soutaro.
So, oh, yeah.
If we have questions, can we ask now, or should we wait for later?
Okay, so yeah, feel free to interrupt me if you have any question.
So Meg, did you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Oh, yeah.
For union types, when
Yes.
you describe it as kind of like it could be one or another, that string, or like in the array you have, it could be a string or integer. Is that kind of like an or? It can be either a string or an integer, or that array accepts both strings and integers?
Okay, so it means that the element of the array is string or integer. It means that we can put string and integer. I think that if an array, do you read the code?
Oh, that's so much better.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. That if the type of array is array of integer or string, then we can push integer and we can push string. So yeah, this is the array of integer or string. Does it make sense?
So the array can have 1, 2, 3 and hello in it at the same time. It doesn't have to be just like have like this array either has all numbers or all integers. We're just not sure which yet. It can have the elements can be either an integer or a string. Okay.
So yeah, it means that it will be a problem if we use like this. So that the first element of array is integer or string, but we don't know which is. So this will be an type error.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And you may get to this later in your talk, so if you do, just that's fine. I'm just wondering, with static typing, kind of why is that important to add in to Ruby, as opposed to like how we have it now?
Oh, I'm sorry, that question is that reason why we need static typing for Ruby, right?
Yes.
Oh, oh no. Yeah, it's a good question. So yeah, Ruby, yeah, the development of Ruby starts with it's a dynamically typed language. There is no static type checker, and yeah, it was good because that the programs written in Ruby were so small that I mean that if you need to understand something on the Ruby program, you can read the code and you will get the answer. This is the old days. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that Ruby was used for small programs. But today, Ruby is used to build pretty big products, like the GitHub or some applications in Squares written in Ruby. So in that case, that understanding the code of that part of some big application is very difficult. Yeah, it's not easy to find out which method will be called or the what the type of variable will be. So in that case, we want something to help reading the code or writing the code.
Okay.
So yeah, it should be the reason why we want static typing for Ruby too.
So it makes it run more quickly on larger applications, basically.
It is to build or to understand the larger application.
Okay.
In fact, in fact, the type checking of Ruby 3 it cannot be used for optimizations.
Oh, so are you saying just to help other programmers understand the code better?
Yes, it is a primary goal of the RBS. And the performance improvements in Ruby 3 is done by some minor improvements or using MZ.
Can you
Okay.
go back to the example where you define the array to be integer or string, but when you go array 0 plus 1 would throw a type
Yep.
error? So I'm confused why, because 1 is an integer. So why would that give a type error? Wouldn't it give 1, 2, 4?
Okay. It means that this can be a string because that we don't know that integer was string. So I mean that.
Oh, if you did array 1 plus 1 would definitely throw a type error.
Yeah, it's a good question. So in fact, it's a good question. So we cannot, in fact, the array type doesn't, it doesn't know the each value of the each index. So if we want to do like that, we can use an tuple type. So this is tuple type. It is a fixed size array, and the each element can have different types.
Mm.
So oops, I mean that. So this is array. It is not the heterogeneous collection. The type of elements, it only has one type for type of elements. So it doesn't know the object as the first element is integer and the second element is the second element is string. It doesn't know. This is the type errors.
Because it has those two to pick from on line 2.
I'm sorry that let me say the.
So if like for instance, if you had declared the array to be an array with and just assigned it the integer type and did numbers with array 0 plus 1, you wouldn't get an error, right? Because it knows it's integer in the arrays, so that all of the elements in that array must be integers. Whereas the example you have here, it's like, well, this element could either be an integer or a string. So I'm going to throw an error because I don't know which one it is.
Yes. Yeah. So that, I'm sorry that, I mean that.
Visual Studio Code.
So that type of this expression is, oh no, I'm sorry that. Type of A is integer or string. So we don't know that what is, it is integer or string. So it can be, there are two possibilities. It is integer or string. So we need to write two cases explicitly. And in the when branch, in this when branch, we know that it is integer. So outside of the case, it is integer or string, but inside the when branch, we know that it is integer. So we do something like this. And yeah, let me continue the explanation. So we have tuples. It is a fixed size integers. So in this case, the first element of tuple and the second element of tuple can have different types. So, oh no, yeah, the tuple, the second element of the tuple is string, and the first element of the tuple is integer. So in this case, we can do the tuple 0 plus 1 and tuple 1 plus string 1.
Tuples were added in 3.0.
Oh, I'm sorry, that
This was a tuple is added in 3.0. I've only heard of that used in Python, not in Ruby.
Okay, yeah, I got it. That, yeah, because tuple, it is an array. It is an instance of array, but the size of the, it is the size of the array is fixed, and we can know that each type of each element.
That's cool.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, I want to continue my talk.
Soutaro, this is Vishal. I think there was a question in the chat saying if you could show an example to run the type checker. I think Richard asked, and I'm just want to echo that same question. Can you actually show it and look at some of the type errors that you were explaining?
If I could just add to that question, if you can hear me. It looks like you're using some kind of add-in to Visual Studio to recognize the types. Would like to know what that is, and you know what the if there's an equivalent for RubyMine as well. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. That I think that the question is that how to run the type checkers, and what is that the integration of Visual Studio Code is, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is a command to run the type checker Steep check, and I have the VS Code integration. So yeah, this is a VS Code integration to run Steep in the LSP mode, and the communication between VS Code and Steep is done LSP. So yeah, I developed this, and it is the this is not the feature of VS Code or any other extension, but that Steep is running on language server and do some communication between the VS Code and do a lot of things like the making the completions or running the type checkers, like that. So yeah, does it make sense?
Is it possible to use that in RubyMine and the JetBrains IDE for Ruby?
Unfortunately, no, at least currently. So I know that the JetBrains already has a really good static analyzer code, and yeah, there is no great support for LSPs. I know that RubyMine has some we have an IntelliJ that I know that there is some plugin for the LSP for IntelliJ, and yeah, I know that I think that this plugin can be used to integrate the Steep into IntelliJ products, but that in fact I tried the plugin 2 or 3 years ago, but that this doesn't work really well. So I decided to switch to VS Code. Yeah, that's it. It's pretty old. So there might be, yeah, I don't know that how it is currently.
Does that answer your question, Richard?
Just to belabor this, I just ask one clarifying question for myself. My little investigation of RBS, I understood that you had to write a separate file that had your type information. You're using these annotations. Is that unique to your Steep plugin that's reading them and allowing for the type checking to take place?
You mean that these ones? This is
yes.
Yeah. This is inline type annotation of Steep. This is not provided by RBS. So yeah, in fact, I was preparing this screen to do some demonstration to give some type checking using Steep. So this is the RBS file for the conference class. So we need to write the RBS file, and yeah, we also have the Ruby script here, and we can write some code and get it be type checked. And yeah, we know that I know that we also need inline type annotations for the detail of the Ruby code. So for that case, Steep has some inline type annotation like this. And it allows defining the type of the local variable array. So without this annotation, it will be the type of array is array of untyped, because that it's an empty array, so we cannot find the type of elements of the array. So if we give like this, it will be the array of integer, because that the variable is initialized with array of integer, or we can make it array of integer and string, like that. But that, yeah, if we initialize the variable with an empty array, we need some type annotation, inline type annotation. So,
And that
yeah,
the comment with the @type, that's the syntax that you use to type the different things.
yes.
Cool. All right, nice.
So if you use the RBS gem and you don't have this like type definition, then nothing will throw any error, right? Because it's gonna just like the line 2 without the line 1 will not, and then line 3 and 4 will not like cause any issues if you don't, if you don't like have the line 1. So I'm just thinking about like, if we try to like incorporate the gem, and then like how incrementally we can do it throughout the existing projects, and how much of like a upfront work we need to do kind of thing.
Yeah, if there is, I'm sorry, it's
If I could just add to that question, exactly what does using the RBS gem give you? I just tried to play around with it during your talk, and I'm not really sure how to use it.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that I have covered some topics to introduce the type checker to existing projects in my talk. So yeah, I think that it might be better to answer your questions after my talk.
Sorry. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep. I'm sorry, Zed.
Thank you.
So yeah, so I'm going to back to the presentation. So this is some of the features of RBS, and I want to show that there are some RBS based tools. So we have some type checkers, we have some RBS file generators, and we have some other tools. I want to pick the 4 tools: the Steep, rbs-prototype, RBS Rails, and Gem RBS collection. And then I want to explain the 4 tools. And then after that, I will quickly introduce the rest of the tools. So yeah, I have shown some of the demonstration of using Steep. It is a static type checker for Ruby written in Ruby, and it uses RBS for its type annotation or type definition language. So you write the types of your Ruby programs in RBS, and Steep will check the consistency between the code and RBS. So if you write some code and it breaks some assumptions defined in RBS, it will be untype error. So yeah, also, okay, so I want to quickly demonstrate how the type checking with VS Code will be. So I have 2 files. The a.rbs is an RBS file, and the a.rb is a Ruby file. So we first see the RBS file. It is just a copy and paste from the presentation, and we found there is talk type. Talk class is not defined in the project, so we need to add the talk class. And yeah, another one is the speaker class. We need to define speaker class. So in this case, all errors disappear. So the definition of conference class is, yeah, it loads the definition of conference class. So then we switch to the Ruby script. We have the conference instance by the conference, calling the conference new. When we hover the new method call, we know that the type of the method is it receives a string argument and returns a conference instance. So we can see the type of the when we type some of the identifiers, then the VS Code shows the completion list. So we know that the conference, it has some methods like this. So we want to use the talks, and we want to push talks to the conference. It shows type error because that the push is array push method, and it receives the rest argument of the element. So we cannot pass the array. We cannot pass an array of the talk instance, but we can use the splat arguments to call the push method. And I want to show the conference. Each speaker method will be used. So in that case, that we have a speaker variable, and the type of that variable is instance of speaker. So we can do something like this. So in that case, some errors are reported because the speaker class doesn't have the name method or email method. So in that case, we need to fix the RBS files, like the name of a speaker is string, and email address of speaker is string, or it can be new. So in this case, that the type of the speaker.name is string, and the type of speaker.email is string or new. So yeah, this is a very quick demonstration of the using Steep with VS Code. It shows the on-the-fly error reporting, and it does some completion, and it also shows the metadata of the method calls. So
I have
oh,
a question about Steep.
Yes.
Just two quick ones. So when it was asking about that method, that speaker method, you just defined the attributes. So like if it were like a named method, would it care if you had that named method? Would, like, do methods have a type as well? Like speaker.orate, something like that, like speaker.talk.
Talk.
Yeah, if that was a method.
So yes, yeah. If we type speaker.talk, and it will be type error because that there is no talk method yet in the speaker class. So we can then add attr reader talk, or you can do that using the def syntax. Def talk, it will be talk.
Okay.
So yeah, attr reader is a syntax to define method with no arguments, or yeah, we have some.
Yeah. And also, like, when you organize this, is it just like one RBS file that you kind of define all these things in, or is there sort of an organization that you want to go with?
So yeah, I think that the best practice we have currently is that to make a files, make the, how to say, the connection between the Ruby file and the RBS file. So if we have some speaker, the conference.rb, then it's better to have conference.rbs, and it will be another talk.rbs, or another one speaker.rbs.
Okay.
And on the other side, yeah, like that.
To have them match.
Yes, I think that it's the best way we know. But then, yeah, this is a very small example and demonstration. I used one RBS file and put everything on the file.
Because normally they're a lot bigger. So, okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Come. Yeah. So during the demonstration, I write the RBS file myself, but that we provide some tool to generate the RBS files from the Ruby code. rbs-prototype is a tool. It is bundled in RBS Gem, and yeah, it scans the Ruby code, and it detects some class definitions and method definitions, and it will give a prototype of the class. So there are two options, rbs-prototype RB and rbs-prototype runtime. The difference between RB and runtime is that RB reads the Ruby source code. It is a static analysis. The runtime is a dynamic analysis. It loads the it loads the library, and it tries to use the introspection API, and it finds out all of the classes, and it lists all of the methods defined in the class. So yeah, this tool will help you writing RBS file for existing Ruby code. You can use that tool to generate the list of the classes or the list of methods defined in the class. And yeah, this is not really smart tool. So it prints the RBS file with every type in that RBS is untyped. So there is no information except that there is some method or there is some arguments. So you need to fix the RBS file generated by the prototype. And yeah, so yeah, I mean that the tool is to have some kind of template, and then you can edit the file, and then you will have the good RBS files for your program. And yeah, I want to introduce another generator called RBS Rails. So as you know, the active record of Ruby on Rails is really difficult. It's one of the most difficult classes to analyze statically. It connects to it. So when the Rails application starts, Rails connects to the database, and it scans some of the schemas of the database, and the schema will be reflected to active record models. So it's literally impossible to reason some analysis statically about the active record models. So we developed, this is a tool developed by Pokke, and he develops a tool to start a Rails application and then use some introspection API and find out some classes and the attributes. So yeah, it has knowledge about the associations and attributes, how these associations and attributes are represented in Rails application, and it generates RBS files. This is an example. This is a log file, is a active record model. It's a small model, and when we run the RBS Rails generator, and it will generate a log file, the RBS of log file class, like the below. So it has an ID attribute. It has an ID change question method, ID change, ID will change ban, or these active record specific method will be included in RBS. And yeah, you can use these methods from your when you type check your application. And the last one I want to introduce is a gem RBS collection. It is on GitHub repository, and it is something like definitely typed in TypeScript or typeshed in Python. So RBS supports loading RBS files from gem, from Ruby gem, but I think that only a few Ruby gems ships with RBS files, and most of the files with most of the gems with RBS files is the ones I developed. So yeah, we need some way to load RBS files for gems. It doesn't have RBS files. So this is all of the gems we have. So we have action pack, action view, active job, or some libraries. So you find that it's only 14 gems. It's so small numbers. And I mean that I want you to write your gems and write RBS for some gems and make a pull request. So these are some of the tools related to RBS. And if we want to start type checking for existing projects, the workflow would be something like this. So first, we use the RBS Rails to generate the RBS files for the active record models. So this is optional. I mean that if you are using the Rails application, the step 1 is required. But if your Ruby program is not Rails application, you can skip. And then you choose a class from your project. Then you write RBS for the class, or you can use rbs-prototype to generate RBS. I mean that it's important to focus on the class, on one class, and you can, I think I want to recommend you to finish to give a type to one class. So you may use Steep, and you will confirm that your RBS and Ruby code are consistent. So when you finish type checking one class, then you will go to the number 2. It means that you will choose another class from your project and give a type to the class. And you will repeat, and you will finally finish type checking your whole project. So I want to say that it's better to start small. I don't think that type checking everything at once will work. So I don't recommend generating RBS for everything in your project and running the type checkers for everything. You will see a lot of type errors, or you will get a lot of the every errors at once, and I think that you won't find some answers, or you will be confused, and you finally will give up. So I think that I want to recommend you try to pick some part of your Ruby code, and give the type to the code, and then you can expand gradually. So in fact, I have some more slides, but it's 50 minutes after I started. So can I continue, or is it better to go to some?
No, I mean, I think
way?
I think everyone here is okay for time, right? Does anyone have to go to work or go to a party or walk your dog?
All good here. Keep going, Soutaro.
Okay, okay. So I talked about the 4 of the tools based on RBS, and I want to quickly introduce the rest of the tools. RBS test is a runtime type checker. So yeah, this is not static type checker. It introduces it. Yeah, it hooks the method calls of your Ruby program, and it inserts some code to type check if arguments and return values have the expected types. So yeah, this is a command. So RBS test is the command, and you need to specify the classes you want to type check. And then you give the command line to run the Ruby program. So in this case, the Ruby -id and test/config loader test is the program. So RBS test will set up some configuration, and yeah, it will start running the config loader test. And yeah, if some methods are called, it has some type checker, runtime type checker, and it will give it will find error like this. So it says that argument type is there is some mismatch between the RBS and the implementation. So the bool type is expected, but it received new. So this is an error. So RBS test it's easier to start using compared to Steep. So Steep requires to type check every lines of the code you choose to type check. But that RBS test, it just checks the method calls. So yeah, if you don't want to use more time to type checking, running RBS test would be an option. But the problem is that it runs really slow, and there are a lot of unsupported features of RBS, and there are some incompatibilities. So yeah, I think that this RBS test is, yeah, it may be good to, you don't want to write your code in statically type checked manner, but you want to provide some RBS file. Another project I want to introduce is TypeProf. It is bundled with Ruby 3, and it generates RBS files from Ruby code. It's similar to rbs-prototype, but it does much more smarter analysis. So we can say that it executes the Ruby code in type level and prints the result. I think that this is a tool developed by another Ruby committer called Mame, and he had some talks about the development of TypeProf in RubyConf or RubyKaigi. So you can watch the video if you want to know more about TypeProf. So this is a comparison between the output of the RBS prototype and TypeProf. So you know that every type included in the output of RBS prototype is untyped, but that you find the output of TypeProf some exact class names. The type of the buffer attribute is buffer, and the argument of the keyword argument buffer is buffer, or the scan method is issue, and yeah, it may return array of issue or some enumerator or like that. So there are some incorrect types, or there are many untyped, but that it gives a better output compared to RBS prototype. I want to introduce some tools, sort and RBS prototypes, RBS prototype. So the problem is that the static type checking, static analysis of Ruby program without any annotations or without any RBS files is really difficult. But that we have some types in YARD documentation or in .proto files. So a sort is RBS file generator. It is the Sorbet RBI file generator, and it also supports RBS. And yeah, that type information is read from the YARD doc. And it generates RBS files with a bunch of types. rbs-prototype is another tool. It runs as a plugin of Proto-C, and it translates the .protos to RBS type definitions. The protocol buffer is a typed schema language, and it has a type of attributes. So we can use the .proto information to generate RBS type information. Another one is that RBS-2TS. So this is not my project. This is some, another one called Mugi Uno. And yeah, I was really surprised to have that project because that it converts RBS types to TypeScript types. So I was always thinking of that, how it can generate the RBS files from some other sources, some Ruby code or some documentation, and we want to generate RBS files. But he does the opposite. He uses the RBS type and it generates the TypeScripts. So yeah, I haven't think of that, and yeah, it's great.
After TypeScript, it becomes JavaScript, and everything becomes JavaScript.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, yes, yeah, and yep. So this is the last one. I want to mention the relationship between the Sorbet and RBS. So as you know, the Sorbet is the most widely used static type checker for Ruby. It is developed by Stripe. So they plan to support reading a subset of RBS files. So it means that the RBI, it is the primary type definition format in Sorbet. It will continue to be the primary type definition. So if you are using Sorbet, you will continue writing RBI files. But that, they say that Sorbet will finally support some RBS. It means that Sorbet can read RBS files for gems. So even if the gem that gem doesn't have RBI files, Sorbet can use that type of information of RBS. So yeah, but that I have had their plan for several months ago, but that it's not implemented yet. So I don't know when it will be. Okay, so yeah, this is our last slide. I explained that the new static type checking feature of Ruby 3. So, and yeah, RBS is included in Ruby 3, but it's not a type checker. So we also developed some type checker and some tools based on RBS. And yeah, we are waiting for your contribution. Some obvious one is that writing RBS of Ruby gems and push it to gem RBS collection. It's only 14 gems, so you will find you will find the gem you want to use, but there is no RBS. I'm really sure. Another idea is that to develop a tool to generate API docs from RBS. I plan to write some of the documentations in RBS, or it can be a comprehensive, easier to parse documentation of classes and methods. So in my opinion, generating API docs from RBS is really natural, and it should be a promising product. So I think that it will be great if someone could try. And I want to say this one too, that I want more Steep users. So I'm testing Steep with some of the open source projects, or I know some companies evaluating Steep, or they are using Steep, and I got some feedbacks from them. It's great to hear some feedbacks for production users. So it's great to hear from some of you that you are using Steep, and if you want, I can help you to start type checking your Ruby code using Steep. I can arrange some hands-on or some one-on-one to help you setting up Steep and writing fast several classes of the type of fast several classes in your Ruby program. So that's it from me. So I'm Soutaro. You can reach me on Twitter or GitHub, or you can just send me email. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Soutaro. That was awesome.
That was great.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Soutaro, I have a quick question, if I may.
Yeah.
Again, fantastic presentation, very, very deep, very technical. Thank you so much. Just a quick question. As you wrote, all the code and the gems and the tools here, what was one of the most challenging problems you faced, and how did you overcome that? If you're comfortable with sharing.
I think I can share. I'm sorry. You asked the problem with what?
What was the biggest problem you faced while designing this gem, right?
Okay,
and how did you solve it? Thank you.
Okay, so the designing the RBS was it's a lot of the compromise. So I want more expressive language, but that we have some limitation of the we need to implement it, and we need people to write the language. So I need some time to do. So I mean that the most difficult one is that to find the best feature set. I mean that we may want to write something like the anonymous interface. We call that a feature we call anonymous interface that I mean that if we can do like this. So we want that a lot of features in RBS, but that we need to find a good subset of the features we can provide compared to the features we want. And so I don't think that it is specific to RBS project, but yeah, it is the problem to everyone who designs something hard, but yeah, it's a program.
Great, thank you.
Andrew, did you see any questions in the chat that we did not go through yet?
Oh. I'm trying to see the chat. Oh, I found.
There's one from the slides. I think Hoa Newton asked for the slides afterwards. I don't think we touched on that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, or yeah, Soutaro, will you post the slides somewhere for us to download?
Yes, of course. I will upload the slides to. Yeah, I'm using Speaker Deck, so yeah, I will do that, and I will post on Twitter. Oh, is there some hashtag for Twitter? Do you have?
Oh, yeah, we're not. Dimitri, we don't have a hashtag, do we?
We don't have one. We're not on Twitter
Okay.
yet. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time.
Try it out.
Yeah.
We just got the YouTube channel, so we're
We
very
did
slow.
just get the YouTube channel. Yeah.
I have
YouTube
one
channel.
question. Hi, hey, sorry everyone. I'm David. I'm fairly new to this this meetup. But I work with JustWorks, and we have a pretty large Rails system that powers our application, and so we're kind of bumping into some of the kind of like growth issues that static type checking might be a good tool for us. So this is really cool to see this happening in the Ruby ecosystem. Soutaro, I'm curious, when you went into developing this feature, what were some existing kind of technologies and languages where you might have taken inspiration from, both like good inspiration and maybe like, oh, we definitely don't want to do that kind of inspiration. So just curious to get that background.
Okay, so yeah, in fact, I have been working for type inference since I was PhD student. It was 2005 or 6, and at that time I was trying to infer the types of the unannotated Ruby code, and I was trying to. I wrote some papers in Japanese, but it was not something we can use to improve our life. So after graduated after I finished my PhD, I didn't continue the development of the tools. But after several years, I found TypeScript. It's a really, I didn't thought of the people, that programmers can write types. I was assuming that programmers don't want to write types, and we need to infer the types without writing any type annotations. But after the success of the TypeScript, we found I had an idea of that. I can ask Ruby developers write types, and we can use that information, and it may succeed at least at some extent. So TypeScript was a really big, it gives me a really big inspiration. And I don't want to say anything about bad things. Another one I want to say is that Objective-C is a very old language, but it's somewhat similar to Ruby. It allows defining some runtime, adding some methods or changing some class hierarchy during the execution. And it has header files, and it uses the header file to do some type checking, to do some static type checking. So I think that it's broken. integration between the static type system and runtime type system of Objective-C is broken. But yeah, I was doing some development on iPad app using Objective-C. It was 2012, 13, like that. So I got that sense of that, oh, it makes sense. So it also really interesting. So yeah, I think that that inconsistent or incomplete system can help the daily development of the people, including me. So yeah, I want to say, yeah, like that.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. Really enjoyed the talk. Thank you so much. Could you just give some of your opinion as to where people should focus in terms of adding static type checking? I mean, are you completely, I guess you're a major contributor to RBS, so would that be your recommendation? Or would you, there's the yard stuff, there's the stuff from RubyMine that's very convenient because you can just put it in line. Any thoughts about just, sort of the future of all this and guidance for people that are new to it, please?
Okay, so yeah, I'm currently working to improve the implementation of Steep. So yeah, I want more features I want to provide more features via VS Code and IntelliJ. And yeah, and we know that RubyMine is, yeah, it does very good analysis on the Ruby code. And yes, so I want to, yeah, I want to make the, yeah, I want to say that I'm still using RubyMine to write the RBS and Steep code, and I'm just using VS Code to test and to write some small programs to evaluation. And yeah, I think that what I want to do for RBS and Steep is that to do more improvements on the VS Code integration and that tool, and I can switch from RubyMine to VS Code. This is my yeah, the ideas I'm working for now. And yeah, I know that RBS has a lot of the improvement. Yeah, RBS needs some improvements. So I don't think that it will break some compatibilities, but I think that we need some improvements, like the, oh, we can say that technically the bounded quantifier, like the list of, it should be like that, or I want to define the type of, oh, I haven't explained, but that it allows making some type areas of the, it would be string or symbol, or yeah, like that. So I want to allow the parameterized type areas. So not like this. So, but yeah, this is syntax error now. But that I want to extend RBS to allow these features. So yeah, does it make sense?
Or did that answer your question, Richard?
I have just a quick follow-up. That was very insightful. Thank you. is there any plan to put like inline type of annotations for those to be supported by RBS? I get the idea of making it a separate file because it allows for all the existing code to get retrofitted with type definitions, which is really cool. I guess that's probably what drove that decision, I'm guessing. But it would be one of the great conveniences of like the inline stuff you can do in RubyMine or with the yard comments. It's right there, and you don't have to go back and forth to a separate file. Is that part of the thinking of the team that's building RBS, or is that would be interesting?
Okay, so yeah, I got it. That your question is that if there is some plan to support inline type annotation of RBS. Yes, and you also asked the reason why we have the different separate file for type signatures for Ruby. Yeah. So I think that I need to explain the reason we have separate file. That it's to maximize the compatibility with existing Ruby programs, and we don't want to. Okay. Honestly, Matz doesn't want to write any types in Ruby script. So it is a reason why we have the different RBS file. So yeah, I will try to explain the reason we need to Matz, but I cannot say that RBS. I mean the RBS. I'm sorry that I don't think the RBS will support inline type annotations within a year or so. But this is about RBS. So we developed some tools based on RBS, but different from RBS. So like Steep. So the Steep, it is a type checker. It is my project. So Matz cannot force his idea to me. So yeah, it supports inline type annotations. And I also have some ideas of writing some the type of classes, type of modules in Ruby code, but it's not I don't have specific timeline or specific some specs, but I know that it would make sense for some programs, and it's not top of my to-do list, but I have some ideas for Steep.
Thank you so much. Really, really cool stuff. Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions?
I have a quick question. When you refer to the tool rbs-prototype in your talk, are you just referring to like this RBS gem? Because I haven't been able to find rbs-prototype anywhere.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's it's a subcommand of RBS command.
Okay.
So that the command is RBS space prototype. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Sorry.
Also, thank you for this talk. This was like really, really helpful in understanding what the heck is going on. So thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much, Soutaro. I think if anyone wants to follow up, I think Twitter. I think Twitter is the best to reach you, or email.
Yeah, I think the both works. So yeah, you can. Yeah, it is fine to me.
Yeah, please let us. Yeah, when you upload the slide,
Oh,
please
yes.
let us know.
So, yeah, I will upload the slide and I will make the tweet, and I will also post on my Twitter.
Cool. All right.
Yep.
Where are we?
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
folks. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, are we gonna do any housekeeping stuff, like job stuff?
Is anyone typically, we always ask if anyone is hiring, if you'd like to throw something out, we'll